I never thought my Navy SEAL past would matter in a quiet neighborhood. But that afternoon, it all came crashing back. 3 fake cops stormed my property, pretending to enforce HOA rules. One of them slapped my wife. That was their last mistake, because I don't freeze, I fight. It started like any other Saturday morning. Sarah, my wife, stepped out to water our garden while I organized some old gear in the garage. The sun was shining, kids were riding bikes, and everything felt peaceful, until Sarah noticed something strange. A black SUV rolled slowly down our street. It circled the block once, then twice, before stopping right across from our house. Sarah frowned, the hose still in her hand, and kept watching. 3 men climbed out. They wore dark tactical vests with shiny police patches stitched on, but something about them didn't sit right. At first glance, they looked official. But Sarah noticed little details that screamed fake. No radios. Cheap nylon belts. Plastic holsters that looked like they belonged on Halloween costumes. Not real cops. One of the men, tall and broad, strode toward our yard. His boots stomped heavily on the concrete. He barked, flashing a badge so fake it could have come from a toy store. HOA compliance inspection. Sarah's instincts kicked in. Calm but firm, she asked, "Since when does the HOA hire police officers?" That's when everything shifted. The tall man smirked, but it was the second one who answered. "We're not hired, lady. We are the law here." Sarah narrowed her eyes. "This is private property. You need to leave before I call the sheriff." Instead of leaving, the third man stepped closer, his hand brushing against a cheap baton strapped to his side. Sarah pulled out her phone to start recording, but with a lightning move, he slapped it from her hand. Before she could react, his palm cracked across her face. The sound echoed down the street. Sarah stumbled back, clutching her cheek, eyes wide with shock. The neighbors peeked out from their windows. A couple even stepped onto their porches, whispering. But no one dared interfere. The tallest man puffed his chest and growled, "You'll regret ignoring the HOA notices. We're here to enforce compliance, whether you like it or not." Sarah's heart pounded. She wanted to scream, but instead she stood tall, glaring at them through tears. And that's when I heard it. The crash of her phone hitting the ground, followed by her cry. Everything inside me shifted. I dropped what I was holding and bolted out of the garage. What I saw stopped my heart cold. Sarah stood clutching her face, surrounded by 3 fake cops who thought they owned the place. Her cheek was red, her eyes watering with pain. And just like that, the switch flipped inside me. Years of training came rushing back, the drills, the missions, the unshakable instinct to protect. I walked straight toward them, shoulders squared, voice calm but carrying the weight of authority. "You boys picked the wrong house," I said, my eyes locked on the leader. "You've got 5 seconds to explain who sent you." The tallest one sneered, trying to look tough. "The HOA president told us you've been ignoring notices. We're here to make sure you comply." I almost laughed. I'd stared down warlords with more guts than this poser. Real police identify themselves. So, badges out, names, departments. Now. They exchanged glances but said nothing. Their bravado cracked. I turned to Sarah. "Go inside. Lock the door." She nodded, retreating quickly. She knew what was coming. And I knew one thing. These men weren't leaving here the way they came. The shorter one tried to salvage their act. "We'll cuff you right here if you don't cooperate." He fumbled with a flimsy pair of toy-grade handcuffs. That was it. The last ounce of patience in me evaporated. I moved fast. My left hand shot out, twisting his wrist until the cuffs clattered to the ground. In the same motion, my right elbow connected with his jaw, a clean, controlled strike. He dropped instantly, groaning on the grass. The second one lunged, baton raised high. I sidestepped, caught his arm mid-swing, and used his own momentum to flip him over my shoulder. He slammed onto the concrete with a sickening thud, air knocked from his lungs. The leader froze, eyes wide. He tried to bluff, shouting, "You're assaulting officers." I stepped so close he could feel the heat radiating off me. "No," I growled. "I'm stopping 3 criminals from assaulting my wife." Big difference. The crowd of neighbors grew, whispering louder. Phones appeared, cameras recording. The fake cop's confidence shattered. Sweat dripped down his forehead as he realized this was a fight he couldn't win. Sarah reappeared at the doorway, phone back in her hand, recording every second. Her voice rang out strong. "Already called the sheriff. They're on the way." The leader cursed and tried to bolt for the SUV. Not a chance. I grabbed the back of his vest, yanked him off balance, and pinned him against the hood. He squirmed, but it was useless. He had no training, just a stitched-on badge and false bravado. Within minutes, real deputies arrived, weapons drawn. "Hands where we can see them." I raised mine immediately, stepping back. Sarah pointed at the imposters. "Those are the guys. They hit me. They claimed to be cops." The deputies ripped the fake vests off and shoved them to the ground. The imposters looked pathetic, faces swollen, uniforms falling apart. It didn't take long for the truth to spill out. The ringleader cracked first. Under pressure, he confessed that the HOA president, Karen Ellis, had paid them cash to teach us a lesson. My jaw tightened. This wasn't just harassment anymore. This was a conspiracy. And I wasn't about to let it slide. By the end of that same day, Karen struck back with a lawsuit. She claimed I had used excessive force and tarnished the reputation of the HOA. I couldn't believe her nerve. But my attorney? He smiled. "This is a gift. We'll countersue with everything we've got." The courtroom was packed weeks later. On one side, Karen sat smug in her blazer, whispering frantically to her lawyer. On the other, Sarah held my hand, calm but steady. The judge asked the HOA's lawyer to present first. Their case was weak, built on lies. Then it was our turn. Our attorney pressed play on Sarah's recording. The entire room watched the truth unfold. Sarah being slapped, me confronting the imposters, the fake badges, the assaults in broad daylight. The judge leaned back, unimpressed. "These men are criminals. And Mrs. Ellis, you hired them." Karen's face went pale. The judge continued, "Not only is your lawsuit dismissed, but you are sanctioned for abusing the legal system." Our attorney rose. "We are filing a counterclaim, conspiracy, assault, intentional infliction of emotional distress. My clients deserve restitution." Karen's empire of intimidation was crumbling. The gavel came down hard. The imposters were held without bail, facing multiple felony charges for impersonating officers and assault. Karen Ellis was found personally liable for damages. Neighbors whispered about her downfall for weeks. Board members distanced themselves, her so-called allies abandoning her. Her reputation? Gone. Her power? Shattered. After the hearing, the sheriff himself approached me. He extended his hand, shaking it firmly. "Good thing you kept your cool," he said. "Most people would have frozen. You probably saved your wife from something much worse." I nodded, pulling Sarah close. My grip was tight, protective. She leaned into me, whispering softly, "We did it." Karen thought she could control us with fear, lies, and muscle. Instead, she exposed herself as nothing more than a bully with money to burn. And as for me, I wasn't just protecting my wife. I was protecting every neighbor who had ever been intimidated into silence. By the time we walked out of that courthouse, I knew one thing for certain. Fear may scare some people into submission. But not me. Not my wife. Not this family. Because once a Navy SEAL, always a Navy SEAL.